all your school rugby, all in one place. This is NextGenXV.
Alright guys, welcome to NextGen15, and in today's video we are going to be looking at the top 10 schools that have produced the most All Blacks in rugby history. We have previously done South Africa, and we will be doing other nations as soon as we are able to get the information. If you are able to assist with other nations such as Australia, England, Wales, Scotland, etc., please do get in touch with us. Your assistance would be very much appreciated. So as always, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released, you'll be the first to know. So let's get into the top 10. In 10th place, we have Sacred Heart, a very powerful Auckland school, very well-known and respected rugby program. In terms of their first international, that would be Cyril Brownlee, made his debut in 1924. Latest international, a very familiar name, Hoskins Sototu, made his debut in 2020, which is last year. Very promising future for this young player. And in terms of the most capped international, that's of course Sean Fitzpatrick, a Hall of Famer and one of the best, if not the best, hooker of all time. Highly decorated and respected career, and was certainly a thorn in the side of many opposition. So 18 All Blacks in total for Sacred Heart in 10th place. Tied in 8th place is a school that might be not too familiar to you guys out there. That's Timaru, and they've produced a total of 19 All Blacks. In terms of their first ever international, that's Full Cabot in 1921. The latest international is last year's Cullen Grace. And in terms of the most capped internationals, John Manchester with 9 caps. I mean, I've heard of cauliflower ears, but I don't know quite what that is. But in terms of leading caps, you can see it's a bit low, 9 caps. But you'd assume a young talent like Cullen Grace is definitely going to surpass that very soon. So 19 All Blacks in total. Tied with them is the Otago Boys. Otago Boys were meant to come to the inaugural World Schools Festival in 2018, but unfortunately couldn't make it. And a school with a very proud rugby history. In terms of their first international, that's James Allen. And James Allen is the first ever New Zealand rugby player. Latest international and the most capped international both goes to Richie McCaw, made his debut in 2001, their last international, and 148 caps. A lot of people argue about who the greatest player of all time is. I've said it many times before, in my opinion, this is the greatest player I've ever seen play the game. He was absolutely outstanding and truly a legend of the game. Then we have in 7th place Nelson College, a South Island school with a very proud history. First ever international was George Harper in 1893. In terms of the latest international, you have Mitchell Drummond, who made his debut in 2017, and the most capped international, South Island and Crusaders legend White Crockett with 71 caps. Moving on, we have in 5th place tied Southland Boys up first. Southland Boys, as you guys will recall, were part of the World Schools Festival in 2019. It's a school with a very, very proud rugby history. Obviously, they lost quite heavily to Grey College, but what many people don't know is that they have beaten Grey College before. I believe it was in the 90s. So Grey College have beaten them twice, and Southland have beaten them once, as far as I'm aware. I would have to go and check that out. But a school with a very proud rugby history, and for good reason. They've produced 21 All Blacks in total. Their first international was John Stead in 1903. Latest international was Jamie McIntosh. A lot was expected of this guy. Absolute beast, very, very big player, but only had the 1 cap in 2008. And in terms of the most capped international, it's Stephen Pokere with 18 caps in total. So 21 All Blacks, Southland Boys. Then tied with them was Christchurch College, another South Island school with a very proud history. In terms of their first ever international, it was George Helmore in 1884. The latest international is Damien McKenzie. Of course, anyone that follows rugby knows that this guy's one of the best players in the world, an absolutely fantastic player. And the most capped international is Joe Moody, who's had a total of 50 caps. So 21 All Blacks for Christchurch College. Next up, we have New Plymouth, a Super 8 school with a very, very proud history, and definitely a school that's played quite a few South African teams and beaten some good South African teams in the past. And in terms of their first ever international, that's Alfred Bailey in 1893. Greg Feek is the latest international, made his debut in 1999, so it's a while since we've seen a New Plymouth boy put on the All Black jersey. And in terms of the most capped international, Ruben Thorne with 50 caps. So 25 All Blacks in total for New Plymouth Boys. Next up, Wellington College, like their namesake in England, very, very good school historically, and certainly a lot of talent have gone through those halls. First ever international, Peter Webb in 1884. Latest international, Lima Sopoga in 2015. And in terms of the most capped international, we have Dane Coles, that a lot of you guys will remember, the total 74 caps. So 35 All Blacks produced by Wellington College in third place. Second place, we have Christchurch Boys. Now, Christchurch Boys have come to South Africa in 2018 and 2019. A lot of South African rugby fans will basically use Christchurch Boys as a benchmark for New Zealand schools rugby. Historically, they've been fantastic. They've had some outstanding teams. I think a lot of South African fans forget that in the mid-2000s, Christchurch Boys beat some very strong teams from South Africa at the Sanex World Schools Festival. I think the last couple of years wasn't a really fair reflection on the strength, and certainly not a fair reflection of the strength of New Zealand school rugby in general. But historically, a very, very strong rugby school. First international was Walter Drake, made his debut in 1901. In terms of the latest international, Will Jordan made his debut last year, and Will Jordan is a player that's absolutely outstanding. No doubt he is going to be one of the best players in the world next couple of years, part of a very, very gifted New Zealand generation. And in terms of the most capped international, of course, one of the best players of all time, arguably the best fly of all time, that's Dan Carter with 112 total caps. First place should come as no surprise to anyone that follows New Zealand rugby even slightly, and that's Auckland Grammar. Now, funny enough with Auckland Grammar, they are, along with Grey College in Bloemfontein and Grey High School in Port Elizabeth, or as it's known now, Quebec. They are all founded by George Grey. So George Grey left behind a hell of a legacy in terms of the schools that he founded, and I don't think he could have quite understood how much talent would arise from these various schools. Now, Auckland Grammar and Grey College have played before. I believe it was in the 1990s, and Auckland Grammar actually won that game 16-15. So obviously we would love to see these two schools go at it again. I think it would be fantastic. Hopefully we see Auckland Grammar come to South Africa for World Schools Festival in the future, or maybe we can even see these guys play on neutral territory. But it's a proud rugby school, and in terms of last year, it did look like one of the top programs in New Zealand. So in terms of their first ever international, that'll be Francis Jervis in 1893. Latest international, Akira Ione, 2017. Of course, you know his brother Rico is an absolutely outstanding player. And then for me, one of the most underrated players of all time is their most capped international, and that's Dougie Howlett with 62 caps. Absolutely outstanding player. Nothing but respect for him, even though as a Springbok supporter in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, he really, put the nail in the coffin in some matches. Who could ever forget that 2004 match where he snatched victory for New Zealand in the last minute, Jake White's first major test. And that is absolutely heartbreaking. But you can't have anything but respect for this man as a talent. So with 51 All Blacks, this is the leading rugby production line in New Zealand, and pretty much the same as Grey College, both founded by George Grey, and both historically fantastic rugby schools, and let's hope we can see them play again at some stage. So thanks a lot for taking the time to watch this video, guys. Just leave your comments down below if you think I've missed anything, and hope you enjoyed the video, and catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.